Wow! Come on, can you move it over?
Oh, Echinacea. It's about time, Jacqueline. How come it's taking you so long to make a video on Echinacea? I don't know. This plant is Echinacea Purpurea, specifically. It's a herbaceous perennial native to eastern North America. Whenever I say herbaceous perennial, I think it should be like something you should really eat. It sounds so appetizing. Herbaceous. It's in the Asteraceae family, the sunflower family. Big family. It's hardy from zones 3 to 9. So nice low zone perennial that will be in bloom quite late into the season. What's that? Give you some more reasons to grow it? Sure, it would be my pleasure. How about hardy, tolerant, easy plant for beginner gardeners? Long bloom season, I already said. You got me. It's drought tolerance. It's a huge pollinator attractor. Okay? Not to mention curb appeal. Is that enough reasons for you? I could go on. Let's just get into the actual plant, shall we? An Echinacea purpurea plant will grow usually around 4 to 5 feet tall and 3-4 feet wide. It's a nice little area. It's a full sun loving perennial, but it will grow in partial shade. It just won't be as showy. It prefers well-drained soil, and like I mentioned before, it is very drought tolerant. That is a huge perk to planting this perennial. The roots of Echinacea purpurea are fibrous. They're not crazy spreaders by any means. They would sooner self-seed than spread by roots. The roots are usually what Echinacea purpurea is made into a tincture from. That's the most medicinal part of the plant, most people would say. And it's a huge immune booster. If you've never heard of like an Echinacea zinc combo lozenge, where have you been? In the springtime, when Echinacea purpurea first comes up, you'll just see like some red shoots. I'm sorry I don't have a photo of that. I'll show you next spring. And as it grows through the springtime, it's actually just like a green cluster of these leaves. It actually looks a lot like creeping bellflower or a bellflower family plant when it's young. So be aware of that. If you think it's a weed or something and you don't like bellflower and you planted Echinacea, it might be Echinacea. The leaves are classified as lanceolate or commonly spear-tipped or spear-shaped. They're narrow and they have these serrated edges, which is really unique. They grow on these tall, sort of hairy stems, and the leaves grow opposite as you move up the stem. Here's a really good example of the opposite growth. You'll also notice, if you look really closely, that new flowers bloom out of the nodes of each leaf coming out of the main stem. Lots of Asteraceae family plants do this. The actual flowers can get as large as 3 to 4 inches in diameter. This is the end of my season, so these are not the most stunning Echinacea flowers you'll ever see. I'm just happy I still have some. It's almost October, so it speaks to their late bloom season. There are lots of hybrids now with yellow Echinacea flowers and I think some red varieties. I like the classic purple pink. I'm just a classic kind of gal though. This center part is called the disc, and it is by no means delicate, okay? It's pretty hard, very solid, sturdy, and there's usually a ring of pollen in the height of its season right here. You see lots of bees sleeping on these, lots of pollinators. I guarantee you, if you plant this plant in your garden, you're gonna see pollinators on it on a regular basis. These tall stems make it really great for being a cut flower. You just have to watch because spiders and little critters love to make webs in the bottom underneath the flower. You might have to spray them down a bit or welcome these creatures into your home. One flower will stay in bloom for like, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks minimum. And then if you want to encourage as many blooms as possible, once a flower starts to fade, you can always just prune them. You can take some pruning scissors and go pretty deep down the stem, just above one of the nodes. Encourages more fresh flowers. If you want them to self-seed and spread a bit, don't prune them. Let them grow and get old. Let's talk about seeds. A lot of times people like to just go out and buy native perennials, which is totally fine. They're a little more established that way. You can plant them in your garden, you have them right then and there for that season. But I encourage you, even if you're a new gardener, to do Echinacea purpurea from seed for a few reasons. First of all, you don't need to stratify this particular echinacea. A lot of echinaceas, people recommend that you do stratify, which is a whole process where you have to soak and or cool the seed, kind of trick it into thinking that it's gone through a winter dormancy period so that it will germinate in the springtime. Echinacea purpurea doesn't need that. You can sow it like any other seed. It has been shown to come up. The other great thing is, it only takes a few weeks to germinate. Some perennials will take like months to even shoot their heads out of the soil, so you don't even know if it worked or not, which can be frustrating and a little bit hard. So a couple weeks and you know. That's awesome. If you know someone that has Echinacea purpurea in their garden, they might just want to share it with you. Seed-wise, there are so many seeds that emerge from these center discs. You could easily share a disc of seeds with your neighbor. The one little tiny little downside to growing Echinacea purpurea from seed, I feel like I should mention because you need to know, if you plant from seed, the first year you won't get flowers. That's just the way it is. You'll just have that green cluster of leaves. That's because it's focusing on root growth and establishment for the following year to make sure it's a really nice, superb perennial. Of course, if you buy an established plant, it's already gone through this, so you're one step ahead. But the process and slowing down to admire even the foliage. I know you're like, Jacqueline, I want my flowers. I'm telling you, it can be worth it if you slow down and really enjoy watching your plants grow through its different stages. If you already have some Echinacea purpurea in your garden and you're just looking up this video to learn more about it, please note, and anyone else can also note, that finches love the seeds. So if you don't prune and leave the seed heads just out in your garden, they'll probably self-seed, so be aware of that. But you may notice more finches coming around. I'd rather attract birds than have my flowers look pristine. I have read that deer and rabbits love the young shoots, so if you're in a heavily populated rabbit or deer area, you might have to protect the young shoots in your first year from those guys. I could keep going and going. It's just such a versatile perennial, grows so great in lower zones. It's so hardy, it's so tolerant, it's so pleasant to look at. Plant it in a wildflower garden, put it right in the center of your flower garden, really just has this eye attractive sort of oomph factor, grows nice and tall. Plant it next to coreopsis, some wild dianthus, some rudbeckia. Oh, I'm gonna go make a flower garden right now. Who cares if winter's coming? Just kidding. Cosmos, plant it next to cosmos. Oh, annual perennial mishmash medley. Love it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you want to watch more videos like